Welcome to this episode of Learning Fusion. In today's episode, we're going to cover color management in Fusion. So let's roll this intro and let's get into it.
We're learning Fusion together. We'll learn 2D stuff and 3D stuff and particle stuff and compositing stuff, deep pixel stuff and tracking stuff, but not other stuff, but some other cool stuff, cause we're learning Fusion together.
So when we're in Fusion, Fusion operates on a linear gamma. And I'm not going to get into the math and science behind linear and nonlinear gamma. There's plenty of colorists out there that really know what they're talking about. So if you're not sure what all that stuff means, you might want to jump over to one of them and let them explain it to you, because I am by no means a colorist. And I am not great about explaining the math and science behind linear and nonlinear color. But I do know how to make it all work correctly within Fusion. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So in general, when you bring anything into Fusion, it's operating on a linear gamma. So anytime we bring in, say, a background in here and all of our nice little colors we've got, it's all operating on a linear gamma. Same with our text, any color we do and any effects we put in, they assume you're operating on a linear gamma. And pretty much anything you bring in, like your little graphics and your standard like media stuff, when you bring it in, if it's Rec 709, it's linear gamma. So you're good to go and you really need no changes, because I can just grab this, take this, bring in a text, bring it in. And let's type, this is text. There we go. Some amazing graphics going on here. If we look here, I could just grab my little color thing and match up my colors nicely, because it's all working on linear. Now, if I was to bring in something else that wasn't linear, like our standard log footage or B-raw footage or our ARRI raw files or anything that's a non-linear gamma coming from typical cinema cameras, we're going to have to change our gamma from non-linear to linear so we make sure everything matches. So I'm going to bring in some B-raw footage here and let's just trim it up, find a spot, and there we go. 3G, the book bag barber, in his little rap video there, looking cool in the woods. So if we bring it in, you can see right now our B-raw footage from our Blackmagic camera is in non-linear. And if we want to say match something up, let's match this text up to the leaves. We could come here and we could match it if we want. And if we bring this out, we go to our little edit page here, it's still matched up. But unfortunately, we are not really working on the same linear / non-linear, because our text is linear and our footage is non-linear. So to be able to work in Fusion and make sure everything is linear, we have a few options. So one way to do that is we could add a Gamut node, so shift space. We can add a Gamut node. If we look at our little Gamut node here, we can change our source space from our Davinci wide gamut. And we can change it to sRGB. And we're going to uncheck this add gamma, because we don't need to add an additional gamma to it. So not looking great at all, but it's at least linear. So if we go to our little footage here, we match up our leave. Now we've got in linear format, both our text and our footage operating on the linear color. But if we go to our little output there, you can see something's still wrong, because anytime we change our gamut, we want to make sure we're switching it back to our original. If that's what you want to do, that's normally the workflow. You don't have to, but that's normally the workflow. So what you want to do is just take your gamut, Control C, Control V. We want to paste it to the end right before we hit our media out here. And then we want to switch this reverse. And unfortunately, there's not just a little swap button on here, but we can go from our sRGB which is where we are linear, switch it back to Davinci wide gamut, which was what our original was. So Davinci wide gamut. And I'm going to uncheck this remove gamma because we don't want to remove it again. So now if I look at our media in and our media out, we have our footage back in its original B raw nonlinear. And then our text that we added here in the linear world is now nonlinear along with our B raw. So now if we go to our edit tab, everything is back to nonlinear, and we can go to our color grading tab and do whatever we want in our color grading tab. So this is a good workflow just to make sure everything is in the same color space or the same gamma space, so we can do all of our coloring and everything matches well. Now, if you're not a huge fan of how some of this coloring happens, because we're really not color grading this, we're just changing our gamma of that footage to linear. So our colors really aren't matching up to what our colors really are. So there's another way we can do this as well, so we can get our colors a little closer to where we want them. Because I personally never do any of my color grading within Fusion. I always do it in the color grading tab, but I at least like my colors to be ish where they're going to be when I color grade. So instead of the Gamut node, we can get rid of these. Behind our media, we're going to add a color space transform. So we can add this color space transform in. And on our color space transform, what we want to do is just change our input color space to input gamma. So we were at Davinci wide gamut and Davinci intermediate, and it's switching to Rec 709 in linear, and it is a little dark, but honestly, this is closer to how it was when this footage was actually shot. This is closer to the coloring of it, but I can select this apply inverse OTF, and it's going to push that gamma up a little bit so it's not so dark. So this is a little closer to where I want it to be for when I actually color grade. So I could take this color space transform, hit Control C, Control V. I could drop it in right before our media out, and all I have to do is select swap. And if I go to our media out, we have our footage back in its original B raw non-linear. And then in the middle here where we're doing all our work, this is where we have all of our linear stuff going on. So I can come to my text, reselect my color to make sure it's the correct coloring. If I go to my edit tab, we are back into our little non-linear B-raw with non-linear text in there. So then I go to my little color page, and if I wanted to add a color space transform here, I can go ahead and do that here. So Davinci wide gamut, Davinci intermediate, and then I can start doing all my color grading stuff. But the key is we are transforming our gamma here to our color space transform, doing all of our work in between, and then retransforming it back to its original. So again, our media in and our color space transform back to nonlinear, but all of our colors are working together correctly. So let's go ahead and disconnect that. Disconnect that. So those are your two options there, color space transform and your Gamut node. Additionally, we have the Cineon log, and on your Cineon log, just choose what type of log you have. I have a Davinci intermediate here, but I'm not a fan of how this log interprets some of my B-raw footage, so I don't use this often, but it does work well with just regular Sony log. But how you would do this is right now we have it going from log to linear, so it's changing it to linear. And we just Control C, Control V, take the same setting, and we just go from linear to log. So now theoretically it's bringing it back to its original state. So that's another option to get your coloring correct. So you have your color space transform, your gamut, and your Cineon log. Just remember, whatever you put in your front to transform your media, you need to retransform that in the end if you want to retransform it and have it back to its original. And again, everything, all your effects are going to be in between all those nodes. Now, one other way you can work is just by using your LUT viewer. So if I go and turn my LUT viewer on here, I could select which one I want to use, and I can use this gamut view if I want. So I could come in here after I select my gamut view, select edit. And right here, I could just change my color space. So I can select my Davinci wide gamut and then select my sRGB. And now we're just viewing that LUT right here. So if I turn it on and off, you can see we're viewing that LUT. And again, I can come here and make any changes. But the problem with this is we're really not transforming any of this to linear footage. So this is still non-linear. This is linear. And we've got a mix of the two coming out. So even if I go to my text and select my little color, I go to my edit page, our colors really aren't too correct. Because again, this is non-linear, this is linear, and we've got a mix of the two going out. But if you want to use your display LUT instead of actually transforming it, you can. And that's what this display LUT up top is for. Now, one easy way to color manage your Fusion and all your stuff to make sure everything is working right is to actually let Davinci Resolve color manage your footage. So if we go to our settings here, and I go to color management, right now I've just got it set up on Davinci YRGB. But if I select Davinci color managed, and right now I'm just going to leave it on automatic, but I would technically uncheck this and select whatever processing I want. I would go here and maybe make a custom one. That way I get better choices. So I can change my input and my timeline. I can change my working luminance here. But this is basically letting Davinci Resolve color manage all your footage. So if I hit save, instantly you can see it's doing something weird because I changed my LUT. So let me go back here and edit this back to no change. No change. But by default, it's going to apply this gamma LUT up here is what it's doing. But this means Davinci Resolve is color managing all your footage coming in. So if I look at our media pool, any footage we have, it's going to see what type of footage it is. So if you've got Sony log footage, it's going to color transform that correctly. This is my B-raw that it transformed correctly. I don't like the look of it, but it still transformed it correctly. And if you have stuff that's already Rec 709, if there's any gamma issues, it will change your gamma and fix any gamma issues. So our regular little Rec 709 footage here, if there is any issues with it, it would properly fix those. So it's all nice and color managed according to your timeline. But with this, now we've got it color managed. It's pumping that color managed footage into Fusion as well as into your timeline. So if we bring that in, it's going to work correctly. But now you notice our color is off because we matched to our little B-raw footage there. So we could go to our text, select our color here, pick it, and you notice we have nothing transforming this to linear or nonlinear because Davinci Resolve already transformed this to linear format. So now we've got linear, this is all linear, and we're coming out linear. And if we go to our edit page, we've got our footage there, and we can still go to our little color page here and adjust any coloring we want to change. And that is letting Davinci Resolve color manage all of your stuff, which works well, but you have less flexibility in making color changes or color decisions once it already makes those decisions for you, as opposed to turning the color managed off and using things like your color space transforms to get your color how you want and changing your stuff accordingly. Just know there's no one way or one right way and wrong way to do all this stuff. It's just what works best for you, and just making sure your colors are correct coming in and going out. Meaning you don't want to be operating on a non-linear like this with linear effects going on. You want to make sure you're transforming everything to work in the same little gamma space in between, because technically you could, if I wanted to get rid of all this, I could grab a Gamut node if I wanted to and bring it after my text. And on this Gamut node, I could say we're at sRGB linear, which is where all of our fusion effect stuff is. And then I can say I want it sitting at Davinci wide gamut, so it matches this. So now I'm working on nonlinear, but I will uncheck this remove, and I just want to add that gamma back in. So now if I go to my text and I select my coloring, now we're working all nonlinear, nonlinear, nonlinear. So everything is nonlinear and everything is matching up. So when I go to my little edit page here, everything's matching. And when I go to my color page here, everything I do is going to match. So again, that's another way you could change everything to nonlinear if you want. But like I said, as long as everything is on the same gamma space, so nonlinear, 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 now we're operating on nonlinear, linear, and a combo of the two, or bring in your color spaces so we can transform it. So now we're operating all linear in between the two. So that is Fusion color management. In a later episode, when we start getting into VFX, we will cover ACES within Fusion because it's kind of a different animal, and it's going to be a much longer episode to make sure your ACES and programs like Blender and Houdini are all matching up correctly. So we'll cover using ACES within Fusion in a later episode, and I will see you in the next episode.